All right. All right, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Prodigy's Simply Fit podcast. Today, I am joined by a good friend of mine, Sam Willens, who is the owner of the Micro Squad. It's I guess like a Pilates. I don't know. I'll let her explain that to you. Anyway, I've known Sam for quite some time. We actually used to rent space at the same training facility, and then when we initially opened up Prodigy years ago, she came over and rented space from us as well. And so Sam has kind of dabbled in a little bit of everything in terms of fitness, kickboxing, and martial arts, and all that stuff. So I definitely wanted to bring her on. She just launched a new business kind of mid-pandemic, which is pretty exciting. But I wanted to bring her on and talk about fitness, and if you're somebody who's interested in getting started with fitness, here's some tips and tricks that you can use to get started. So Sam, thank you so much for joining me today. If you don't mind giving a quick rundown of who you are, please keep the lame jokes to a minimum.
Oh, you called me out already. Well, thank you for having me, first of all. Oh man, now I feel like I need to make a joke. You threw me off. Okay, well, the Micro Squad is a Pilates studio or virtual studio. So we have a microformer, which is a mini Pilates machine based off of a Legree Fitness, which is a different style of Pilates. So it's more of a high intensity. We also incorporate a lot of floor movement. And our latest thing is balo weights, which are hip and trendy, found on Shark Tank.
All right.
So they're cute and pretty, and
hey, it gets the job done, right?
For those who love glitter, they have glitter weights. It's amazing, but they bring ankle weights back in style. So
there you go. All right. Perfect.
So yes, we started this mid-pandemic because we all lost our job. My whole studio lost their jobs, and we wanted to keep fit and active and keep our community alive, and just stay busy, pretty much. But yeah, so starting your fitness journey it can be daunting, right? Like, you and we've been in this for years, so it's almost second nature to us. But for everyone, whether they're coming into your space, into my space, not the website.
Yeah. There they are. There it is.
There they are. So whether you're looking at a machine, at weights, it's intimidating and it's daunting. So one of my favorite things to do, especially going into a new space, because I still get nervous going into new facilities, is I love to bring a buddy with me. The buddy system is my absolute favorite. So a couple of my trainers, we always go, or try to go now that things are open, we'll go together or book dates together to just try different things. Like, I'm not a cyclist, but one of the other girls will love to go cycling, and that's my reason to go out.
Yeah. So, no, I think that's great. I think, that's one thing that we've talked about, and we've had a couple of others on the podcast. Even some of our members who've been on the podcast have talked about the idea that having a buddy is such a great thing, because it's so much easier to kind of have that courage per se to get started when you have somebody else going through it with you. But then also with that buddy, you have that built-in accountability throughout the journey, right? Like, you don't necessarily want to let somebody down per se.
Exactly. Yeah. You have that oomph together to keep going, or especially that kind of brings me to tip 2 is trying different things, because maybe something isn't right for you, but you have another friend who likes doing a different type of modality, and you can go with them. So those kind of go hand in hand. Is trying different modalities is my second tip, basically.
Yeah. And I think, to that point, and one of the reasons why, we want to bring on kind of other health and wellness professionals on this podcast is to talk about all the different modalities that are available, because we're big believers in strength training and things like that, but ultimately at the end of the day, that's not the flavor for everybody. And as long as you're finding something that's getting you moving, and that's really the end of the end goal. And so bring on somebody who's talking about Pilates, right? Go try a Pilates class, or go do yoga, or go find a spin class, or whatever it may be. That's ultimately whatever it is that's going to ultimately get you moving, and that you're going to enjoy doing, right? Because if you're like, I hate strength training, but I have to go to this gym and do strength training every single day, then that's not going to be fun. You're not going to want to stick with it, right? Like, you're going to want to find something you enjoy doing.
Exactly. And I'll just, well, you know this about me, but like about me, not everyone wants to come in and work out. So I try to make it fun for people. I crack my stupid jokes. I sing along. I'll do something just to make it just to kind of pull you away a little bit, but because you sometimes just need to have fun with it and break up the monotony of it because it can
Right.
get a little stagnant, and that's normal.
Yeah. And I
So
think to that point too, like I think you do a really good job in terms of, because I've taken a handful of your classes over the years, whether it's yoga or Pilates or whatever it may be. And I think the idea that you had brought up originally with bringing a buddy and the intimidation factor, right? Like if you got someone there and you got an instructor, at whatever gym, and it's more of like a drill sergeant type instructor. Like if you're somebody who's brand new, who hasn't worked out in years, super intimidated to walk into a gym, and you walk in and you've got, a drill sergeant in front of you, like yelling at you, like that's going to be super intimidating and super scary. But if you have someone who's, I'll say it, right, you're quirky and you're cracking jokes and you're singing and you're making it fun, like it really helps kind of bring that level of like intimidation down to where they're like, okay, like I can do this, I can get through this 45-minute to an hour workout. And I actually look forward to coming back because I'm not scared, literally scared to come back, right?
I mean, you might be scared of my jokes, but that's fine.
Yeah, well, we all have those moments. Let's just put it that way. Yeah. So I think, yeah, absolutely, kind of finding somebody who, I think it goes to that energy, right? Like the energy of the environment that you're in as well, right? I think one thing that, like I said, you do really well, like spin classes, for example, are really well known for like the energy of the group, right? Quote unquote.
Yes.
The energy that it brings, because that's what helps keep people, coming back around is the energy.
Exactly. Yes. And so, and then like wait, what did I just talk about?
Yeah,
Started
buddy. So your first tip was
buddy
buddy. Second tip was try something new, and third tip is
is fundamentals. Don't be afraid of the fundamentals.
yes.
So I know a lot of people, especially coming into a Pilates, well, at least for me, like a Pilates class, they see a machine, you're a little intimidated by the machine. And I've actually had friends be like, okay, so I'm going to go to an actual physical class. Where do I start? And what, like for us, it's normally like times of classes. It
Yeah.
used to be times of class when we were in a studio. It used to be times of classes that were a little bit slower, a little bit quieter, where you could focus on those people.
Yeah.
For us virtually, they're called fundamental classes. So they're already preset slower to be accommodating to people who are new to them or trying to learn the basics of moves, which you do a great job with as well.
Right.
Is you have a lot of the foundational moves, your warm-ups are very foundational to build you up. And I feel like a lot of people tend to just kind of jump into a workout, and then they see injuries and they see this and
Right.
that, and then they get down on their journey, and they're like, well, okay, well, it didn't work, I got injured, so I'm not going to do it. And they avoid a lot of the things that are necessary for the body, which is one of the reasons why I love Pilates, because it works so much into the core and the foundational pieces that can translate into everything.
Absolutely. No, and I think that's great. And I think that's one thing, it's very much kind of the adage, we have here is just, it's just keep it simple, right? Like simple works, and, I had Rob, and Rob from 3 Strong.
Oh, yes.
I had Rob on the podcast a while back, and we were talking about this and the idea that, people come in and you're like, all right, we've got push-ups, and like, oh, that's it? Like, what else? I'm like, well, you haven't mastered a push-up yet. Like before we go and load it up and do all this other stuff, like let's master a push-up, because that's going to be the foundation that you build on. And so having that, I think, on 2 regards. One, people see all of these, Instagram influencers, like social media influencers, and they see all these crazy workouts that they're doing. And they're like, oh, I want to do that. Great, but you can barely squat to a box without, you know what I mean? Like, you got to focus on the basics first is one, and then 2, they get thrown into a group class where it's, and no knock on CrossFit, I think highly of some things that CrossFit does, but one of the things that I think I'm not a fan of is the idea that, yeah, these people get thrown into these classes and there's no kind of ramp up program. And yes, some CrossFit gyms have like an on-ramp program, which I think is great, but some of them get thrown into this, and these people are just not prepared to handle, certain exercises, certain weights, things like that. And yeah, they get hurt and get frustrated. So it's like finding a gym that's going to focus on the fundamentals and kind of ramp you up in the way that you need to be for success.
Yeah. And and I'm not going to call them out specifically, but there was a place I went to, and I kept asking for core work because that's the foundation of everything. And they're like, oh, well, not a lot of people like to do core work, so we're not going to do it. We don't offer that really. And that's where everything comes from, is your core. If you don't have a strong core, it's not going to.
Yeah.
It was very frustrating because it is such a huge piece, and there's a lot of places tend to forget that.
Yeah.
And whether that means like you have your piece, but maybe someone needs to also pair in some physical therapy or Pilates aspect to then get them up to where they need to be, because they need a little extra help. Like, there's no shame in starting with those fundamentals. Like, I think, I know I've seen you do it. Like, rather than loading up the squat rack, you're going to learn the squat with just dumbbells, the lightest dumbbells you can, or just air, for you to learn the form before we throw on all the weights. And some people just want to jump right into the weights, and it's take a step back, put the ego aside. And
exactly. Yeah. And that's why we've incorporated what we're calling strength standards into our program, where, when people initially come in, they have to go through 4 exercises, right? We do a kettlebell deadlift, we do a goblet squat, a push-up, and a row. And they're coming in for an intro session by themselves with a coach. And so they're walking through, and we're figuring out like how advanced can we make their initial programs, so that way they are continuing to see success and they aren't getting hurt, and it's very much kind of the adage of, meeting people where they're at, right? And I think, like I said, I know you do a really good job of this as well, of meet somebody where they're at. Don't just say, hey, as a trainer, I really like to do, these type of workouts. I'm going to make everybody do these type of workouts. Like, no, like what you're doing is unique to you, because you're a little bit more, quote unquote, advanced in the fitness, because you've been doing it for a while. Like, somebody who's new doesn't need to be doing that, and they need to stick to the basics. So you meet that person where they're at, and that's what's going to, make sure that they continue to come back, because they're continuing to see success, and they're not frustrated because they're getting hurt, or I can't do a push-up and he keeps making me do push-ups this way. I'm frustrated. I'm just not going to go there anymore. I'm not good enough, and I'm just going to stop going. Right. Which, I mean, it's sad to think, but I mean, it happens, right? Like, it happens where like these trainers try to, crush their clients, and like, no, that's not the goal. The goal isn't to drive your client into the ground and make them puke, right? And get them to feel even worse about themselves. Like, no, that's not the goal.
No, it's not. But that's where, and all, like, for us, like, we're boutique or small gyms that we are group fitness, but we have a lot of the personal aspect to us, where we take that personal training piece into our group sessions and make sure that we're catering to our specific clients and what they can do and what's accessible to them. Right.
Absolutely. So do you have any other tips? I know that was 3. I know that was a lot, but do you have anything else?
I like my magic 3. I could keep, we could start nitpicking other little things, but magic 3 is perfect.
I think 3 is good. 3 is good to remember. So let's quickly recap. Grab a buddy, right? Take a buddy with you. If you're intimidated, I think that's a great idea. Kind of to piggyback along that, I would even say, and I think you mentioned it a little bit, is go for a tour, right? Like, if you're looking to check out a certain gym, or maybe an online program, like I know you guys are doing a lot of online stuff right now as you're preparing to open up your brick and mortar spot, but like reaching out to the people who are putting the online program on, like, get to know them, talk to them, like, and bring a buddy with you, because that, I think, is going to help a lot with the intimidation, in terms of knowing where certain things are. Like, even something as simple as like knowing where the bathrooms are, knowing where all that stuff is going to help, in terms of that intimidation.
Exactly. Or like for a lot of online places, they have free day, 7-day free trial, or a 2-week trial for X
Mhm.
amount of dollars. Like there's a bunch of different things that you can go and try. And if it's especially if it's online, don't be afraid to reach out and like interact with whoever's behind that Instagram or the IT. I mean, that's all me, but that's, I have all the hats, but
Yeah.
reach out and interact. I have other trainers, you have other coaches, you can talk to those people and
Right.
just ask questions, get to know, and see as that's what I answer daily is, what equipment do I need? I don't want to buy the Pilates reformer. What equipment can I use instead? And that's like where I say like the ballas, or like here's, and then I'm getting to know those people and they're getting to know me.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. So grab a buddy, try a ton of
Try
things
different.
until you find what kind of is, your thing, right? Like
Yeah,
whatever it is that
and
you're going to enjoy.
yeah, and on that, like if you're like, I'll for like me, like we have so many different trainers. If you like kind of like the style, try the different trainers, because not every trainer is the same. They all have different things they offer, or just they're slightly different. So don't be afraid to try other instructors. If you're like, that my first class, I didn't like this instructor, but I liked the format, let me go try these other instructors. So don't be shy.
Right. No, absolutely. And I exactly, just like to that point, right? Because it may be, like you said, it may be the same class. Like I really like that, but this instructor really kind of gets me a little bit better or whatever. And yeah, I
Yeah,
think there's definitely some truth to the idea that instructor or coach kind of definitely makes or breaks the session, right? Like if it's a bad, great program but bad coach, then it's going to ultimately be a bad experience. And so finding that person where you really connect with and jive with.
exactly.
And then your last point was
Fundamentals.
fundamentals. Yes.
Don't skip the foundational stuff.
Yes. Absolutely. Don't walk or don't run before you can walk, right?
Exactly.
Perfect. Awesome. All right. So if somebody is interested in trying out Pilates, learning a little bit more about the Micro Squad, where can they go?
TheMicroSquad.com, or our Instagram. We have a lot of stuff on there at the Micro Squad. We have our 7-day free trial. We have a lot of non-equipment workouts that you can do. So try it out. It's not like anything you've tried before,
Right.
at least Pilates wise. If you want that like kind of gentler piece to your joints, but want still a really good sweat, that's what we are.
Yeah, absolutely. No, like I said, I've tried out Sam's stuff a couple of times, and definitely as a wannabe meathead, it's
It's
definitely a
humbling.
different workout. It's humbling. It is very humbling. So, but yeah, so check out themicrosquad.com or the Micro Squad on Instagram, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
Yep.
All right. And then just be prepared for all of Sam's bad jokes. Okay.
So, people really like the jokes, okay?
Sure.
Sure.
Awesome. All right, Sam. Well, I appreciate your time. Hang on one second. I'm gonna sign off here.
Yep.
But I appreciate your time. Thanks for joining me.
Yeah. Thank you for
So if you
having
guys
me.
are interested in more information about the Micro Squad, please check them out, themicrosquad.com, or on Instagram at the Micro Squad. As always, please do me a favor and head over to our podcast and subscribe. Add any feedback, comments. We'd definitely love to read those and improve on any way we can. Share this with friends and family as always. And until next time, I'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye.